Welcome to Storytelling with Lindsay Bednar. It's so good to see you. And as soon as you popped on the screen, I was like, oh my God, can I come over? So your drum sets in the background, your keyboard, like I've literally told Gary from years ago, someday I want to have like my own little sound studio. Not because I'm super good, but so in love with just playing music. So
Do you play? This is my husband's office basically. He teaches music from our home. I'm in the basement.
oh, that's
So
so
yeah, he's
cool.
he's off today, so it worked out. That's why Thursdays are good for me to record. And yeah, I'm more grounded in the basement. So
Yeah,
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 I
come
love
over
it.
anytime and jam. Love it.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I had a drum set as a kid. I was in like marching band, played the cymbals,
You
percussion.
nerd.
I know. Such a nerd. I know. Every time I talk about marching band, people are like, really? I'm like, it was cool in Grand Rapids. Just trust me on this one. Yeah. So okay, we had you on. I wrote it down because I was like, how long ago was this? But it was 2 years ago, 2024, episode 35. And
hmm
so, for anybody who hasn't listened to Meredith on that first episode, please go listen back to that first one because it sets a lot of just groundwork. And I want to revisit some of that too. But this is such an amazing time to be able to get you to come on the podcast. I'm so grateful to you because there's a lot of change and new energy coming up, which I will let you go all into. But I want to, just give me like a brief overview of the energy, the change, what is coming up for the collective.
Sure. I've been thinking about this, and I really do believe that 2026 is going to be a year very similar, but in a better way than 2020, where we mark our lives before 2026 and after 2026. The cosmic ingredients coming, I mean, we're days or weeks away from this, is a potential gigantic paradigm shift on the planet. I'm nothing but excited for this. I don't want to spread any apprehension or fear, and I know there's a lot out there in the collective. It's like I've been waiting for this for maybe lifetimes. I don't know if, Lindsay, you feel intuitively or something inside you that something is going to drop like a singularity. People are calling it like extinction burst. So much is coming, and I can go into the nitty gritty astrology, the planets, if you'd like. But I just want to kind of preface that I really do think 2026 is going to be a game changing year for every single soul on Earth.
Oh, that's like the best news ever. And a million percent, I feel that too. I think, it's easy to look around the world and feel, I can see where people are in fear and they're angry and all of those things. But um, I don't know. I just feel it in my bones that this is what I came to incarnate in this time for in this era, and that it's so exciting and that it is probably there is going to be a lot of ish that we see and we're exposed to, but I think that that's a necessary part of getting rid of it. Is it has to come to the surface first, and it has to basically peel our eyes open to it all before we can clear it.
Exactly. What I've been seeing and what I've been saying is what is done in the dark will come to the light. And that's kind of, I think, what's going on right now.
Mm.
So, how do we fix things and where do we move forward without knowing what's wrong and what's really going on? So, would you like me to talk about just February and setting the stage for 2026?
Yes, that would be amazing. And I think, we're all hearing so much about the year of the fire horse, which is the Chinese zodiac. So how does that play into just as you're looking into astrology, and how does the Chinese zodiac, play along with all of that, I guess, for like us very novice people?
Sure, I'm not super educated on the Chinese zodiac, but I have downloaded Red Note, the Chinese version of TikTok, and I've actually been talking to the Chinese people about astrology. So I'm learning more and more and using
Mm.
ChatGPT to translate. It's been really fun. So, what I understand about the year of the fire horse, it's starting on the 17th, which is the same day as the solar eclipse in Aquarius. And we haven't had a fire horse year since 1966. And history is my worst subject, and I haven't yet gone back to 66 to see what went down that year. But we are leaving the year of the snake, which I really resonated with the last year of my life. that snake energy, like shedding skin. It's been like a very transformative year and also kind of slithery, icky year as we all like go into our shadows and see shadows in other people. And I'm excited for a fire year. I'm a fiery moon sign, so it's like that energy is coming back. I've been in, a lot of isolation. A lot of people have too. It's like just kind of like hibernation mode. And I'm
Yeah.
feeling like the match gets struck in my body. I'm feeling more energy coming up. I'm feeling more motivated to speak and spread my knowledge and do what I can to kind of burn some of this icky stuff to the ground. Okay. I will speak more on what I know, more Western astrology, if that's okay. Again, I'm
Perfect.
not super educated on the Chinese zodiac. So, February 17th, 2026, we are going to have a solar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius. And solar eclipses in astrology represent beginnings and endings. And Aquarius is the age, the astrological age that the planet is moving into. Okay. So I do believe this eclipse portal, as it opens on the 17th, again, bringing the year of the fire horse, is going to push the collective, maybe quite uncomfortably so, into more Aquarian energy. Okay. Aquarius is the sign linked to frequency, wavelength, vibration. It is the loudest sign of the zodiac that doesn't like to be told what to do, how to do things. I always say Aquarians are the most quote unquote allergic to authority. And that's not a malicious thing. It's not all authority. It specifically pushes back against authority that is not serving the people or, families, clients, it's Aquarius is like, wait, what are you doing? This is not serving all of us. It's the most humanitarian sign of the zodiac. And I do believe, I mean, you're in the Twin Cities, right? Like we're
Yeah.
seeing that now.
Yeah.
Um, 3 days after the solar eclipse on the 17th, we have a once in 6,000 year planetary conjunction lining up in the sky. And I want to spend some time talking about this and having some conversation about it. I want to first make sure it makes sense to you so it makes sense to your listeners. What is happening 3 days after the solar eclipse? The planets Saturn and Neptune will be meeting at exactly 0 degrees Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and 0 degrees Aries is just the inception point of the zodiac.
Mm.
Okay. So is that making sense? Just want to kind of like go layer by layer on how crazy this energy is.
Yeah. So just to recap, so 3 days, so February 20th,
Exactly. Yes.
Saturn and Neptune um, are conjunct at
0 degrees
0 degrees
Aries.
Aries. Wow. And this is hasn't happened in how many thousand years?
I took months to find the last time they met at 0 degrees Aries. And I will say this is the tropical zodiac using the Placidus house system. So other astrologers around the world may disagree with this information. They met there at 4,361 BCE, I believe. Okay. These planets do line up every 35-ish or so years. They last lined up in a different sign in 1989. This year brought the collapse of the Berlin Wall, collapse of the Cold War, collapse of the USSR. They do bring quote unquote collapse, but you could argue those collapses were benevolent. I really do believe that these two planets, when they do line up, bring more benevolent energy to the planet. Okay.
Let's go.
And 6,000 years ago, the last time they met at 0 degrees Aries, the age of Taurus was starting. And I link this to actually some Bible information. This is linked to the story of the golden calf, where the people started worshiping quote unquote false idols. Money was created back then. People got really anchored into the material realm and theoretically cut off or lost their link to the divine.
Mm.
So 6,000 years ago, this planetary conjunction brought in the age of material. 6,000 years later, we are moving into the age of frequency. So maybe you've seen in your personal, professional life, more and more people losing their attachment to material, celebrities getting more dissolution. Like, why are we kind of like putting our energy towards them? It's really I'm getting goosebumps as I speak. I don't know why I like
I'm
chills.
dying 1,000,000%. Meredith, I can't tell you how much this is resonating, not just with me, but with the people I talk to about just all of this. People I've connected with on social media, just like-minded people who are feeling like I used to care about what celebrities are doing. I used to care about, material things, name brands, getting a certain whatever. And all of that stuff is just losing its meaning. And,
Mm-hmm.
not to, I've talked about this in one other podcast before, and I had a friend reach out and she said, don't come after my Gucci sunglasses. And so no shade, but I think everybody can feel that at some level. And maybe it's even the idols and the celebrities, as we're starting to see just how gross a lot of that whole industry is. People are naturally, kind of walking away from that. I mean, and this is coming from somebody who used to subscribe to Us Weekly, was like reading the articles of stars. They're just like us. They take their trash out. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I can't imagine spending my time in such mind numbing information anymore.
Right.
But I was there.
And I do believe, the definition of fame will be changing, and I want it to. I don't know if fame will even exist in our new reality, but I want the famous people to be the ones putting their energy towards solving homelessness, hunger, all those humanitarian things that Aquarius is known for.
Mhm.
Pushing back against authority, and I think our even definition of money will change. We're getting more electronic with that. I really kind of want money to go away in our lifetimes. I don't know how that could happen. And it's all made up. It's all made up stuff. So maybe in the future, and I'm kind of seeing this now, people getting paid for their frequency. Success is going to be more, are you living your purpose instead of being productive, which is an old kind of patriarchal kind of way of living. Okay.
Yes.
Anything else coming up for you? I want to go into more symbolism of Saturn and Neptune if you're ready for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So, a few things. I do believe 2026 is going to be the year for what I call spiritual entrepreneurs. So, Aries, where these two planets are meeting up, is the sign of the entrepreneur. And Saturn, one of the ingredients, is all business planet. And Neptune is the all spirit planet. So, if there's any entrepreneurs out there like me and you who have been struggling or really trying to get their business off the ground, 2026 is your year. Okay. More and more people will require spiritual healing, assistance, as possibly the matrix that we were all born to starts to dissolve or possibly collapse. Okay.
Mm.
Any questions about that? Are you seeing that with any entrepreneurs in your life or people like I've just seen in droves people leaving the corporate world, and what I've been hearing from my clients around the world that certain environments are getting more and more toxic. It's like work harder, less money,
Yeah.
old energy. That's not sustainable.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I feel like, well, like you said, 2026 is our year. I've been feeling there's been like a halt with the podcast and projects and things going on. Partially, I believe that I'm like in a mommying season. I've been, but in the last like week, I went from, I don't know, a month and a half where I wasn't recording to now this is my third recording, and
Mm-hmm.
it feels like this newness and this momentum that I haven't had for a while. And it's so exciting because this is one of my favorite things to do, is just sit and listen to interesting people. So yes, I'm already seeing that. And then of course, uh, I just had a conversation with a neighbor who said she is her career, she's just looking for more meaning. She
Mm-hmm.
loves her job and it's great, it pays well. She has a lot of flexibility. But she's lacking that purpose in it.
There you go. Yeah. I
Yeah.
can see, some people talk about their job like, well, it's flexible, and they rationalize kind of doing the work when it really doesn't light them up, fire them up. And I made a major career change, and I get a dopamine hit every time I get an email, a work email now. And back in my corporate gig, you got those emails, you're like, oh, like it's just
Totally.
such a change.
Yes.
Um, this is my favorite part of the symbolism coming up is in the negative expression, Neptune is the planet of deception, illusion, and kind of deceptive practices. And Saturn is the lord of karma, and he makes shit real. Okay, so any individual corporation that are using smoke and mirror tactics, which is going on a lot, I think, or deceptive practices, not sustainable. Like it's the deception can no longer hide. I really, really feel that. I've seen that personally. I've seen that collectively. It's like, no, man. Like there's these old kind of like Wizard of Oz techniques,
Yeah.
it's not working anymore. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the biggest themes I'm feeling is just that crave for authenticity. And I feel like with the introduction and rise of AI, it feels more like this, paradigm of this is all this fake stuff is rising over here, and yet we are desiring more realness. So that's a very interesting kind of dichotomy too.
Yeah, for sure. Um, what else can I say? I do believe in 2026, more and more people leaving legacy media. This has been happening for years,
Thank
putting more
God.
energy towards independent media, which is my jam. I haven't watched the news in a decade at least. Um, and I really believe 2026 is going to start collapsing. And this is Age of Aquarius stuff, and this conjunction is bringing this. The theory is that over the next 20 years, and I hope it doesn't take that long, that the systems of greed will be collapsing and replaced with systems of need.
Mm,
So, there's billionaires on the planet, and there's so many people in poverty and so many people struggling. And I've asked big questions like, why do we have to pay to live on a planet we're born onto? Like nothing makes sense anymore. So going back to like community collaboration, there is food for all of us, there's water for all of us, there's shelter for all of us, and people helping other people and, you know, dismissing the authority figures that are lining their own pockets, kind of thing.
yeah. Wow. Yeah. And is that, I mean, is that a part? So you said the next like 20 years. So we're essentially ushering into this phase where that is ultimately going to be a result of it. So it might, obviously things like that don't happen overnight, but
Correct.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think is going to be some of the most immediate things we will see with this energy? You talked about like things coming to the surface, and just in the past couple years with all the Diddy stuff, the Epstein files, the a lot of the corruption that have been in front of us, I feel like it's like, okay, this stuff that's been around for a long time, we're just, a lot of people are just seeing it for the first time, and yeah, so I feel like that we're already starting that. But I don't know if there's any part of this energy that you're like, I think this is how it's going to play out first, or if that's too tough to tell.
I'm thinking, and I'm almost seeing this hour by hour on social media right now, the veil being lifted, undeniable evidence of deceptive, gross stuff, where people can't deny anymore or live in their own illusory kind of way of being.
Yeah.
And I like the Aries archetype coming in because Aries is fearless, brave, and more whistleblowers coming out, not
Mm,
afraid of the quote unquote consequences for speaking their truth, talking about their experiences. I'm seeing this on social media with former people in the military, talking about the propaganda departments they were working in to, propagandize the American people. And I'm like, what is true? What have
right.
we been lied to? Like, I've been on so many rabbit holes, and
Same.
my my and I'm a little nervous for how certain individuals could handle this information. One of my favorite quotes from the Matrix movie, which I think is a documentary,
Yep.
is Morpheus says there's a certain age of mind we don't unplug. So if you've been so anchored into what you thought was real and you find out it wasn't, that could, I mean, I feel like I've been in psychosis off and on. I don't know if you've been on Rebels. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
So just to like stay centered. If you feel like you're losing your mind, which I have felt that way over the last 5, 10 years as I've gone through my awakening, go put your back against a tree, take a wind bath, feet in the grass, roll around in the snow. Just go to Mother Earth. There's an electromagnetic relationship we have with her, to come back and be like, just breathe. If some of
Yeah.
this information that comes out might be really hard to digest, I really think that could happen.
Mm. Yeah, I was wondering about that, even just with the recent connection, the Epstein files with Bitcoin. And I've only seen a few things, but allegedly he is, it's alluded to him being like tied to the creation of it or something. So anyways, Gary was on looking at Bitcoin last night. We haven't done any Bitcoin, but it's tanked. Like,
I saw that. Hmm.
yeah. And so I do wonder how this is going to put people into panic and fear, not just the financial things, but things that people are being awakened to for the first time. And I hope they, like you said, find ways to ground themselves and move with this new information.
Yeah, I mean, lean on your ride or dies, find your circle of people, go to your heart center. And I even saw that Epstein, I have to admit, I don't know what I don't know, but he won the lottery twice. So is the lottery rigged? Does the American people voting people into office, are they put in place? Are we even voting for people? Like, I have all these questions. So
Yeah.
what's real? Do we live in a democracy? I mean, the rabbit hole goes deep, and I'm sure you've been down as many as I have.
Yes. I mean, I am definitely to that place where I'm like, nothing would surprise me. What is real other than, you know, the people next to me, family, God,
Exactly.
everything else is kind of like, we'll see. Nothing.
Yeah. And I love this planet. I think it's gorgeous and beautiful. I have never loved since I was a small child the systems of it. And again, they're all created by us. I mean, you can go even argue that countries aren't real, borders aren't real. This is our home. We're all on spaceship Earth together. So I'm loving that the divine feminine is rising, and I don't want, the men to take a back seat or anything. Like, I want collaboration.
Yeah.
We're using our voices, more equality there. And feminine energy is just more community based, nurturing, collaborative, and less competition with each other. Making sense?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's just a natural progression when we're leaving the old patriarchal, um, the Piscean era and coming into this Aquarian age where it was before it was structure control and now it's community and it feels more maternal and feminine. And like you said, we want both masculine and feminine energies, but there is something that I feel is shifting in a very feminine way that just feels very good.
I agree. And I mean, I believe there's, divine feminine, divine masculine, but there's also toxic masculine, but we have to own there's toxic feminine as well.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I one time I had put something on my story about toxic masculinity, and it was so fascinating to get the responses back from people because I have a very masculine husband. I love masculinity. It has literally, figuratively, and literally built our society. And I love strong men and all of that. I was referring to a culture that doesn't allow men to show their emotions like they do
Mm.
females. That to me is toxic. Not the celebration of the best parts of them. It's actually the limitations of all that is them. And so I had a whole bunch of conversations in my DMs about that afterwards. I was like, well, there's toxic feminism too. Anytime you're exalting one above the other, or you're suppressing all that is somebody, that's toxic. And so I'm glad you said that because I feel like just that phrase toxic masculinity was thrown around so much that it sounds so man hating, but you can have toxicity in either and that in our society, and there is.
Right. I feel that the toxic masculine on the bigger scale, that's more drawn to like physical warfare, and the toxic feminine is more emotional warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Very different. And I have the opposite vibe. It sounds like in your marriage, like I have been the masculine one. My husband is the more feminine one, and he's the one that taught me that it was okay to feel emotions. I didn't feel emotions for decades, and us coming together, like he cracked me wide open and made it safe or safer for me to show emotions. I was so locked down before.
That's amazing. You're a Capricorn, aren't you?
I am, yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. My daughter keeps her emotions very close to the vest,
Hmm.
and that's never been me. I'm kind of like I wear it on my sleeve. Um, so I think that'll be part of her work in this lifetime too, and
Yeah.
or she'll find partner that draws it out of her, just as you have. That's cool.
Uncomfortable work, but important work, definitely.
Yep.
Do you have any questions about the 17th eclipse, the February 20th conjunction? Otherwise, I will talk about a few more things coming for 2026.
Um, no, you can keep going. I mean, just to recap, it is like this very rare and intense energy that is here to usher us into a beautiful stage.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm ready for the world to change since I was a little girl. I don't know if you felt like this too. I was like 5 and I was like, something's wrong here. Something's not right. But you're 5 and you listen to your parents and all that kind of stuff. Like, must be something wrong with me. But I'm like, yeah, maybe like you. I'm like, I was born for whatever's coming next on this crazy space rock. And I feel like I've been training in lifetimes for this. So let me wrap up by talking about the eclipse portal closing on March 3rd. So every solar eclipse is either preceded by or followed by a lunar eclipse. And we're going to have a lunar eclipse on March 3rd in the sign of Virgo. And lunar eclipses are more about letting go and shedding and typically more emotional. And I like the Virgo energy because the gift of Virgo, one of the strongest gifts, is discernment.
Mm.
Discernment. And that's a word you're probably familiar with. The easiest example I could talk to the listeners about is like, okay, I need to discern at times, is this my intuition speaking or is this my monkey mind, my program speaking? Okay. So collectively, we have a beautiful wave of energy coming in to help each individual practice their own discernment. Okay. I mean, is this exciting
Mm.
for you too? I'm like, I
Yes.
love that word. Yeah.
In 2020, I remember posting about this is a time for discernment, using our own critical thinking. And it was probably too ambiguous for some because I remember getting some pushback on it, but it was also people who disagreed with me in how COVID was being handled or whatever. And okay, so fair. I'm still hold to having discernment and glad I did during that time. And I think um, the fact that it's going to basically be gifted to more people is so exciting because I feel like that has been something that has been lacking. And I'll throw myself under the bus, as we're talking about the Epstein files and Bill Gates being very in these files. When I was teaching, gosh, this must have been 2018, 2019. The students were writing hero papers in my English class. And so they were supposed to choose anybody they could pick who they felt embodied the characteristics of a hero. And I had one kid that was, into wasn't necessarily science, but he was just into I don't even know what I would call it. But and I said, why don't you do um, Bill Gates? And he said, yeah, like computers. I don't know why I said science. Well, this is the interesting thing because people associate with them science, but it's really technology. Anyways, and he started laughing and he was like, Bill Gates, he's like disgusting. I'm like, what are you talking about? Anyway, I had several students who had been down all kinds of rabbit holes and like tried to show me things years ago. And I wasn't ready for it. I
Mm.
couldn't receive it. There was a complete disconnect. And now I think of so many moments when I was teaching when uh, I was like suggesting someone or basically showing somebody as a role model or a mentor, somebody, and they were like, no, that ain't it. And I just had no idea. And so I don't know exactly what cracks people open. For me, it was really starting meditation and quieting myself and tuning in that turned my intuition on, that allowed me to receive more of that information. But yeah, I'm needless to say, I'm very happy for the discernment coming in for the masses.
Yeah, I think as we talked about celebrities and fame, the fall of the guru is really kind of going through the collective as well. And I keep kind of telling people, I I grew up religious. I don't feel religious. I'm spiritual, but I've created my own religion, and no one's allowed to join it because like you get people in masses, and it gets kind of culty. I do want to go back to 2020 if that's all right,
Yes.
because that was another conjunction that happened in January of 2020, and that involves Saturn as well. So Saturn is involved in the one coming up, but in 2020 in January, Saturn aligned with Pluto. So Pluto is the lord of the underworld. He's the destructor. I turned 40 in January 2020, and I threw myself a quote unquote apocalypse birthday party because I was like, guys, something's coming. Like yeah, I didn't know what it was.
No way.
Astrology is really good at the when, but the what is always like we're living the mystery, right? So that was such a crazy time, and I appreciate you bringing it up because like we're not talking about it, and I wish we would more. It's still
Yeah.
sensitive, and I understand that. I lost a lot of friendships for the first time in my life. Lost friendships during that time.
Mm.
I look back on my life, and I don't know if you know this about me, but my former career, I worked in patent technology, and from 2006 to 2012, I worked in mRNA patent technology,
I did not
and
know that.
I do not think that's a coincidence. So again, I feel like I've been training for everything that has like kind of
Oh,
happened. I can kind of go back even to my child and like, why was I born in the town I was born in? It's just is mind blowing. So that was such a almost collective fear test.
yeah.
Obviously, it was a very scary thing. My discernment and spidey senses were like pinged. I was all in for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. I stretched that out to 6, and then nothing was going on in my world, so I went back to normal. And I got in big trouble with a lot of people in my life for going back to normal and not being afraid. Like it was amazing how much slack I got for not being fearful. So that was a very difficult time. I can feel my heart kind of like pumping and just bringing it up as I still have a little bit of trauma in my body from that time. But I want to just say that Saturn now is coming into alignment with Neptune, the most benevolent spiritual planet there is. So full circle from what we went through in 2020, that was not so benevolent, obviously. And now we have, changing up the game there.
Wow. Uh, I'm sorry that you have like relationships have dissolved. I definitely had situations where, for the first time ever, people were unfollowing, basically unfriending, which I don't care if you follow me on social media or not, but it was just a sign of I'm breaking my tie with you because I don't agree with what you're saying, which to me
Yeah.
is wild. I've never done that with someone unless they're just like uh, toxic, but if they're sharing an opinion that I disagree with, I'm like, okay, you do you, so that, yeah. And it was wild to watch how, like you said, people would be upset if you wouldn't share the fear.
Yeah. And that was kind of the beginning. That was Aquarian too for me, because if you look at the glyph for the sign of Aquarius, it's like two zigzaggy equal lines. And you can probably agree now there is at least two realities playing out.
Thousand
You
percent.
you ask, two different groups of people about the Minneapolis situation, you will get two very different realities. And I'm like, do we live in a objective reality? We're multidimensional beings. There might be different timelines playing out.
Mhm.
And I think of Aquarius as like frequency vibration. And then maybe back then people just started to bounce off each other. It's like our frequencies are too incompatible. It's like a mic screech. I don't want to speak negatively about anyone on this planet, any human soul, and I want to respect everybody's journey. But yeah, that was definitely a split.
Yeah.
Again, this two reality timeline, and maybe that's the future we'll be living in. There will be two different realities, and we'll just be respectful and keep distance. And you believe what you believe, and I'll, do my best over here. I'm not sure.
I hope that's not the case, although it's felt like there's been two different realities since 2020, and maybe before then, maybe since 2012, which
Ah, yeah, that was my awakening.
yeah, I wanted to have you talk about. But I'm so thirsty for nuance and craving it because with what's been happening in Minneapolis, with what's been happening on a collective, I can easily see where there is gray area. And it's a very isolating place to be when the vast majority of people are black or white. You're either in this camp
Yeah.
or you're in this camp. And I can't do tribal. I've never really been that type of person. But especially now when I'm like, guys, if we continue doing this, how is the world ever going to improve? If it's I'm on the right side of history, you're on the wrong side of history, like that that to me is exhausting. And I would love to see more nuance come forward and more coming together with this new energy. But do you think that's possible?
I'm hoping that the systems designed to divide us are what collapses and what dissolves. We're all on the same team. We are all on the same spaceship Earth. We are all here together. And right and wrong, that's subjective. What coffee is right for me is wrong for you, right? It's all um, Aquarius is all about individual self-expression within a collective. So stuffing
Mm-hmm.
every kid into the same school system, that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying some kids need to run through the forest and identify plants. Why isn't that school?
Yeah.
Right? Like individual, education, individual growth, individual spiritual development. We all don't need to stuff ourselves into boxes. And in 2020, everybody tried to, or the media tried to stuff us all into one box and one belief system. And I rebelled against it. You rebelled against it. And I didn't ever want to hurt anyone, ever. I don't want to hurt anyone. Back then I was like, can I volunteer at the hospital? I can't intubate someone, but can I change sheets? Can I hold someone's hand going through illness? And I was
Mhm.
ridiculed for that idea. So
For
yeah, it's
what? Wow.
so it's very interesting. We'll see if there is a collapse. I'm like you, I kind of zoom out. I can see both sides. And my mantra the last couple months has been observe, don't absorb. I'm really trying to do that.
Yeah.
It's really spicy out there. It's very intense. So I just try to observe, not absorb. But this isn't sustainable. It's like almost like murder, trauma, outrage, repeat. You
Right.
know, like I was talking to someone, this started, I think, back like Y2K for me. Like I partied like it was 1999 back then, and that we were supposed to be scared that Y2K was going to happen and the computers all were going to crash. And then September 11th happened. And then every couple of years, I remember the Zika virus in 2016. I went to a wedding. Everybody's freaked out about the Zika virus. It's like something to be afraid of. And now almost every other day, there's a new thing to be afraid of. And it's like, oh, they're trying so hard to keep us trapped and afraid and outraged and mad. And I'm like, that bubble has to burst
Yeah.
because I don't know if this happened to you, but eventually I got tired of being afraid. I grew up in a fear-based family. I just got tired of being afraid. And I sat 2012 was my awakening. And I'm like, what am I afraid of and why? Is it authentic fear or was it programmed into me? That kind of big topic.
Wow. So did you have any life circumstance that happened other than the energy of 2012 and how that was apparently a shift? Did you have any like thing that happened, or you think it was all energetically driven?
I did have some big events. So I was obsessed with the Mayan long count since I was a kid. I was always into like X-Files and occult and Egypt and all that kind of weird stuff. So December 21st, 2012, I think that's what you wanted to bring up today
Yeah.
was the end of the Mayan long count. I was watching that date most of my life. And 2 days before that, December 19th, 2012, I woke up and collapsed. I eventually ended up getting diagnosed with a spinal injury, mysterious spinal injury, which had me dragging my leg for months. Like I had incredible pain. And now I wonder if that was kind of like a Kundalini thing. So that's maybe kind of like a
Mhm.
side quest. And the December 21st, 2012, my partner at the time proposed to me because he knew I was obsessed with that date and he proposed marriage. So I had a big life event literally on that day. We were together for 7 years and I ended up calling off that engagement within a few months. So things for me started to spiral rapidly. I changed and uprooted my whole life. So yes, personal events did happen to me, but I started to kind of ask myself why I was doing the things I was doing back then and made some drastic decisions. And I mean, again, I worked in patent technology and now I'm an astrologer. That's like where I ended up after 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, you said you've always been interested in the kind of like Egyptian, you said the occult. So I just want to pause there because people love to twist astrology with um I don't know I don't know if they say paganism or anti-God, anti-spiritual.
Mm,
And I am also fascinated by the occult and the history of it in our world, not because I want anything to do with it, but because it strengthens my faith in God, in the divine, and how we are spiritual beings in human bodies, not human beings in spiritual bodies. And so I think it's important to know about. And so what is, you said, you don't follow a particular religion, and but you have a spirituality, you have a connection to the divine.
I do. I grew up Catholic, so my training program back then was astrology is a sin, tarot cards are a sin, all of that stuff is bad. You're going to hell for all of it. I rejected that as a young child. I don't know. I still can't explain why. I was just born different. And I find it interesting because even in the churches in Italy, if you've been to Italy, they all have the zodiac in them. The signs. I mean, you'll go into ancient churches and you'll see Aries, you'll see Taurus in there. And if you are familiar with the Bible, you'll hear about like the three magi going to see Jesus at birth. I'm like, what are magi? Astrologers following
Mhm.
the stars to find God. So, yes, I do reject some of that fear based programming of using these tools. And I think astrology is a tool. Can you use it for good? Yes. But do I think the bad guys are using astrology? Yeah, I
1000%.
think they are.
Yeah.
Just like my fist, I can use it to help people. I can punch you in the face. It's a
Right.
tool. So it's up to each individual on earth to choose the path of light. It's almost like Star Wars is playing out the light side and the dark side right now. And maybe I'm going off on a tangent here. But yeah, I don't resonate with organized religion. Do I have a relationship with spirit? I'm still a little triggered by the G word. And I think that's from my childhood because so many people projected their own ego on God and what God is. So I
Mhm.
prefer the term, I mean, today, like universe, spirit, divine, all of that kind of stuff. But I feel like we are maybe a little aligned on that. And I'm not knocking any religion. If you found a religious path that works for you, that makes you a better person, that encourages you to grow, follow it. It's just like I said, I've created my own religion, works for me, and nobody, sorry, you guys don't get to join it. It's just for me.
Yeah, I think, anytime people have rejected things that are on like part of the planet, whether it's plant medicine or understanding in intricacies of the stars and what it means for our path and the themes on Earth. That to me is anti-spirituality because this was all put here as part of from my perspective, God, and part of our creation. So it's all so connected to me, but I just wanted to speak on that because people love to just put up barriers and put things into boxes. And so I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
break that down a bit.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know if I've ever talked about this publicly, but the one time I truly feel that I had a conversation with God was on a psychedelic mushroom trip. I don't know if you've ever done psychedelics, but it's so hard to put into words the experience. It was like pure bliss, love, unconditional love and support from the universe. And that was through a plant medicine gateway.
Mm,
Can't do that every day. Like those medicines I do believe should be used sparingly. And they're almost kind of like designed to do that. So yeah, interesting. Like why I question like why all these medicines and practices demonized when
right.
I was a young child. Like what's that about? So maybe truth will come to light around the religions and why they've suppressed some of these techniques to that I do believe aid us in discovering our own divinity.
Uh,
It's like, yeah, it's maybe a systems of control.
yeah. I haven't done a plant journey, and I think I would probably go into it with fear that I wouldn't come back in my body. So then it probably wouldn't be a good experience, if you go into it with fear. But I'm so fascinated by it, and I have listened to so many stories of people who, it's so universal how people have such a spiritual experience, how they've never felt more connected, how they understand afterwards how connected we all are, which is obviously such a beautiful thing. There was a Netflix series about the mind in all plant medicine. I don't know if you ever saw that, but it
How
went
to
in.
Change Your Mind,
Yes,
or
yes.
Michael Pollan, I believe. Yeah, I read
Yeah.
his book. He came to St. Paul. I saw him speak as well.
Okay, yeah, that was super fascinating. And um, I have no doubts that those things were demonized once people, once evil powers started to understand how it was um, so beneficial for people in connecting to their spirituality and understanding how we're all connected. So,
And yeah, you can have a quote unquote bad experience, and I have, but those bad experiences like helped open my eyes and they ended up being good at the end. But you could meet your shadow. You could meet the dark parts of yourself that you haven't looked at before, and it can be uncomfortable. So like the worst trip of my life did turn into the best. Yeah, there was one that was very, very dark, but now I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful that happened to me because it opened my eyes to things that I didn't even know I was afraid of and I didn't even know was running my subconscious kind of thing. So yes, proceed with caution. Not encouraging anyone to jump down that path if it's not comfortable. And please, please, please always be with a trusted person that can help you and sit with you on that journey.
mhm. You spoke earlier too. There's karmic, like karma is coming up as a theme, and that makes me super excited because, especially around 2020 when I saw, uh, I don't know what, just so much corruption, so much deceit, and I have just been like waiting for karma, and that's probably not a very loving thing to do. Um, but it's me wanting justice to be served to people who I feel really deserve it. Um, so yeah, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that or like karma or what.
Yeah, I almost spin like my science background on the word karma. So what is the quote? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Mhm.
So I do believe if I've hurt someone in my life, I will receive that equal and opposite hurt, maybe not from the same someone, but it's universal balance, which is divine justice. And I understand because like my shadow work is, it's almost like we, as a human with these chemicals running through our body, it's just like we want revenge. It's just like we want to see the fall, but it's like you got to keep that loving heart center. I don't I want people to get that divine justice. I want them to stop hurting people. And I struggle with like, I don't want to hurt them back, but again, I have to give it to spirit. I have to give it to God. Because when the human psyche gets involved in that, we can get pretty nasty. So
Right.
yes, the symbolism of the planet is the karma's coming, divine justice, not human justice, divine justice, whatever that means should be playing out starting this year.
Well, that is exciting. And yes, I'm going to try to operate from a place of just love and that, you know, and I truly don't want to wish like pain on anyone. I want people to be held accountable and to not continue what they had been doing.
Right. And we can, maybe not celebrate someone's necessarily downfall or pain, but celebrate people not being hurt anymore.
Yes.
Like, yeah, just try and, energy flows where attention goes. And that's like
Right.
even the last couple months, like look for the helpers, look for, the good stuff. So yeah, we'll see. I'm living the mystery with you. Like hour by hour, I think things might change in February. I really think so.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? Are people going to be able to put their head in the sand as many of us have throughout the years where we just kind of ignore what's going on? Do you think that's going to be an option moving forward?
Yeah, I do. And I don't find anything wrong with that. I want to believe in human free will, free choice. And if you want to move to the woods and, start a commune and grow your own food and not pay attention to world events, I actually support that.
Mhm.
Like I said, most of it's all fake. It's all matrix systems. If you live your best life, and if you want to unplug and not put your energy towards rebuilding, more divine collaborative energy, and not that you going off on your own is not divine. I want to, respect that path. And I've put my head in the sand plenty of times in the past, and I still do in some ways.
Yeah,
I've, sometimes I joke I have to go watch reruns of Friends to kind of come back. Because some of this stuff can and really stretch your brain to its limits.
for sure. And we live in this age where, especially if you're like a content creator, if you have a platform, there's this odd expectation for people to speak on everything that's going on. And if you speak on one thing, then if you're silent about the next thing, it's like, well, why are then people want to cast judgment. And um, I think that that's weird. I think that that's a weird expectation that people are supposed to insert themselves into everything that's going on because humans weren't designed to do that.
Right.
But then also, I think it's huge to for us to protect our energy, and to ground ourselves in things that are right around us, and rather than getting pulled into every last thing. And this is coming from somebody who, again, has been down pretty much every rabbit hole. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Um, yeah, like I told you earlier, I haven't watched mainstream media in at least a decade, and I get most of my news from my clients actually. And it was a client, an international client I had actually informed me that the US government was shut down. When it was shut down, like I had no idea. I was like, oh, thanks for letting me know. Because my life really wasn't that affected. I'm not saying other people's lives weren't, but like, yeah, I get my news from people I trust, people with integrity. Like, I really think the word integrity is going to be huge moving forward. And I think the new world, like, it might not matter how many degrees you have on the wall behind you, because I'm sure you've met people with plenty of degrees behind them, but that does not mean you're a person of integrity.
Right.
It's like your frequency or vibration is going to speak for you, not the paper on the wall kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. That seems to be a very old kind of thing. Where's your kid going to college? Where, what are they decorated with? Like I've already seen that start to shift. A lot of parents are encouraging their kids go see the world or go get an internship. I don't care if you go to college. I don't, um, so I'm seeing that stuff change. Do you think we're going to have a total like rehaul of education system based on just what you're seeing in astrology?
I hope we do. I
Yeah,
really do. What I want to see is each person's individual gifts and talents to be encouraged. I grew up with boomer parents, and if I would have told my parents I wanted to be a painter, they would have said, that doesn't make any money, and that would have been dismissed. And so many people listening probably had that experience with boomer parents. That's the program that's not sustainable. How much beautiful music isn't being made or art, because we're all, again, shoved into this very mainstream school system that does not serve every kiddo. Like, I loved school as a kid. My husband rebelled against it since he was 6. And he's brilliant. He's self-taught, like he's a musician, he's amazing. So I want the education system to be reformed. I don't think kids should be in a desk starting at age 6 from 9 to 5. Like, we're training them to be corporate slaves, basically.
that's
And
by design. That
yeah,
is
no, I,
very
I
much by
agree.
design.
And let's get that 401k, hoard your own wealth to retire. Like, everyone's chasing retirement. I can't wait to retire. And Lindsay, I feel retired now. I
Yes,
do. I love my work. I want everyone to love their work. And I used to have a very Capricorn ego thing about some people honestly aren't born to work. They aren't. I am. I love work. I will always be doing some kind of work. Some people want to eat berries in the sunshine on a mountain. Why can't that be their human experience, right? A lot of my clients say, I want to get paid for breathing. I'm like, I love that. Like, let's change the world like that, and stop judging people who aren't working 90 hours a week, climbing up the corporate ladder. That's got to go bye-bye. People are done with it. I just see this like collective done. I'm so done. Whether it's the soul sucking job, the relationship, the media, the celebrities, like it's just a done. Are you seeing that too? It's just
A
like a
thousand
done.
percent. And I think there are people who feel it, and they're probably just uh there are many people who feel it, but they're unsure of how to make that transition. Which is, talk to people about it all the time. My sister is starting to coach people to do it. For any of us who have left a like a quote unquote safe, definitely putting that in quotes, but from societal standards, a safe career, and have left it to do our own thing. I think all of us are going to be helping these people coming in kind of doing the same, because in whatever way we're doing it, whether it's just in conversation, it's sharing stories like this, but yeah, I think that's just co-creating the new world, and it's so exciting to see.
Right. And I thought I was going to be doing astrology on the nights and weekends till I was 65. That's what I thought this was going to be. And the universe just showed me another path. I got kind of like kicked out of my corporate job due to ethical reasons. I couldn't stay there because my moral compass was spinning out of control. So I just want to encourage anyone, if like you don't have to know how it's going to work out. Follow your excitement, follow your passion, find the thing you would do if money goes away tomorrow. Poof, no one ever gets a paycheck on the planet ever again. What brings you joy? Because the thing that brings you joy brings other people joy. It's like a ripple effect. I've had clients tell me, like, even if they don't really understand astrology or don't really understand it, they've commented like they love my energy. Like, I'm so passionate about this. And like, passion is contagious. I don't care if
Yeah.
someone's talking about like buttons at a button factory. If they're like lit up talking about buttons, I love that energy. It's like, it just makes us feel good, right? So follow your passion, follow your joy. And I don't think, going back to the school thing, the schools are set up or designed to encourage that in children.
Amen. Literally on the way to school this morning, I drop my kids off every day. It's just a few more minutes of time I get with them, and so I like to do that. And they were talking about one of the teachers that is in the lunchroom. It's kind of like a monitor. And Garrison said, "I get in trouble for standing up." So you get in trouble
Uh,
for standing up at lunch. Yep, I'm yelled at and told I'm gonna have to sit down, or I'm gonna, be sent to the office.
that hurts my heart so much. I've heard stories like that, and I have a cousin whose son got in trouble at 3 years old asking for help to use the bathroom. I can't. Like, it's like, why? What's wrong with standing up? Like, I remember even asking permission to go to the bathroom till I was 18 years old. Like,
Right,
what?
right.
What? Now I'm like, that is ridiculous. I
I
had to
know.
ask permission. So I'm sorry to hear that. Like, how do you counsel your son? Or what do you even say?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I honestly, it was so like, how is this even our reality? I mean,
I know, it's
he's an
absurd.
11-year-old boy. He's so active. He learns so much through movement, and thankfully he has had several teachers over a year that understand movement, and they use kinesthetic learning, but a lot of them, it's like sit in your chair and be quiet and listen,
Hmm.
and it's hour after hour after hour, and this is how education's been for years.
It's not serving the people. I mean, like, just look at everyone depressed on medications. We have to like medicate children to sit in
Right.
those desks. And I don't resonate with any of that. So yes, do I personally hope the school system reforms and changes? Hell yeah. I
Yeah.
don't even have kids. Yeah, 100%. I hope that's one of the systems that does collapse and get rebooted. And I don't know how. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know how we're all going to figure this out, but we're in it together. And hopefully, all of us want the best for the children. They are the future, as that cliche as that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But even the generations, the astrology is different with the kids being born today. They're different. They're more connected, I think, to the divine. They've
Totally.
got discernment. Maybe they're older souls. They're coming in to change things too, and they're rebelling against the systems, I think, more than our generation did.
This generation, uh, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people in the workforce have called this newer generation entitled, and I can see how there are there is entitlement. I can see in some ways what they're saying, but I also think that there's kids going in the workforce that are pushing back or just kind of disrupting things because they can feel in their body that this isn't the way to do it anymore. So I think
Yeah.
we're having a little bit of both. Like, yeah, there's a lot more helicopter parenting that leads to kids that are maybe be more entitled, but there's also this generation going, yeah, I don't want to do things like that because that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't feel right in my body.
Which generation are you speaking to? Like the 20 something year
Yeah, the
olds? Or
20s.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know too many 20-year-olds, but I've taught some workshops. And one workshop is popped into my mind a couple months ago. There was a couple 20-year-old friends, and they had just graduated undergrad, just stepped in the corporate world, got that degree. And then I was talking about my stuff, and they were like, "Yeah, we're wondering what we're doing." And I wish I had that mentality at 20.
Yeah,
Because now I believe the 40-hour work week is ridiculous.
right.
I can't believe I did that for so long. I don't live by, I'm not a slave to the alarm clock anymore. I don't work 40 hours a week. I tried when I started to do astrology, and like I physically can't sustain the vibe that I have to hold for 40 hours a week doing astrology. So do I hope that collapses too? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we'll see. And even like the younger kiddos coming in, born with different astrological ingredients than we were. Every generation is different. And yes, we are moving to a new world, a new frequency, a new age. How this is all going to play out, what's going to play out, I don't know. But again, just to wrap up, I think 2026 is the game changing year, and we will mark our lives before this year and after as things play out.
That's I mean, that's a huge statement and it feels so real just when you say it. I'm like, yep, that completely resonates in my body. Like from fingers to toes,
Goosebumps.
I know I can
Yeah.
feel it. So just a final note, how can we best operate with all of this change in the next year? What are some things that we can be doing um, in 2026 to work best with this energy and not feel chaotic or in fear or any of those other low vibes?
That's a big question. And, to each their own. I was taught to suppress my emotions and, especially anger and rage. And now I think rage is sacred. So, allow the rage to surface. I mean, please go to the tree and break sticks and get it out of your body. Don't project that rage on other people. And that's kind of our tendency to throw our emotions on another person, blame another person for our emotions. But I guess what I would say is like, know thyself. That's the journey we're on. Like, really know yourself. Where do you need to work on your energy? Where are your honestly flaws? We've all got them. Where are your strengths? Journal, meditate, reach out to friends, find a spiritual path, whatever that looks like. I don't think that's a one-stop shop by any means. Get into that inner voice however you can. And that is not the ego voice. That's very programmable on this planet. Like, find that inner voice, and it can speak to you through whispers or dreams or intuitive nudges that can't quite be explained. And I would say follow the synchronicities. I don't believe in coincidence anymore. Again, if you see
There.
the numbers on the clock or four bald eagles in a day, try and crack the code of your dreams. Ask for spirit help. Ask humans for help as well. But when you can't figure out a problem, when you don't know what to do, maybe do nothing. And then pray to your ancestors, call in divine assistance. I do believe we all have spirit helpers, whether they are our ancestors or just a higher version of ourselves. I've had evidence of this myself. I'm a scientific person. I do appreciate evidence. So I would encourage people to work with this. It's like almost like do the science of spirit. Ask for a sign. You don't get to pick how it shows up, but it will. Ask and visualize what you want in your life. You don't get to pick the timeline on when it does show up, but it will. Okay, we are masters of this reality. We are co-creators of this reality. Can we control it all? No, but we are in charge of controlling ourselves. Um, Emotional regulation, I think, will be huge. And that's more and more of us doing our trauma work, watching those triggers. I think the triggers are our teachers. So when I get triggered, which is daily, honestly, I was like, ooh, that's on me. I got something I got to look at. I need to move an emotion throughout my body, whatever it is. I've been releasing emotions from the 80s in the last couple of years. I don't know if you've more emotional than I am, but like I've had to, ugly cry for days at a time. So allow yourself that grace if the emotions do come up. And I hope we move to a collective where you get to not go to work, not just for like a cold or a physical illness. Don't go to work if you're emotionally dysregulated because that's not good for you. That's not good for your coworkers. That's not good for your clients. Like more grace and understanding as we all move through this very difficult human experience. I am not putting sparkles and unicorns on this thing. I've like at times like, can we turn down the difficulty level? The settings of this simulation, like it's rough, right? So allow yourself grace, allow other people grace, do your best, and just know that everybody is doing their best at their level of consciousness, wherever they're at.
Wow, Meredith, that was beautiful. I feel like I'm going to listen to that back several times and then want to like shout it from the rooftops because I think it just gives people such good like inspiration for how to move through this time. And it's not doom and gloom. Yes, there's going to be crunchy stuff that we're going through, but it's all to get to a better place, and that's super exciting.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I keep saying everything's gonna be okay.
I'm gonna put on some Marley now. Everything.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I am so appreciative of you and all of your wisdom, and I thank you for leading in the way that you do. We're grateful to you.
Thank you for this conversation. It was good to see you today.
Yeah, you as well.